my word for it. But it's got those infectious diseases in there for the digestive system. And what they're doing now is they're spraying it with Windex, basically. It might as well be Windex. They're spraying ammonia on it to kill this Salmonella. Jeez, I still can't think of the word, but because I'm so used to calling it Liza Minnelli dancing in your stomach. But they're taking that and spraying it with ammonia to kill that, and then putting it in with the regular pure hamburger meat so they can make more. So you can have more hamburger. We think they got these 3/4 pounder burgers from Burger King, and McDonald's have triple sized burgers, you're sitting there eating that. Well, remember, 1/4 of that is dog food. Enjoy. Just Google it. Google dog food and hamburger meat from McDonald's or whatever. I mean, you'll come across it. Just manipulate the words around and you'll find the articles. Hundreds, if not thousands, of articles. These people are really, really done a work on our minds. Ever since you're growing up, you're told that carbon dioxide is poison. We gotta fight carbon dioxide. Well, I hate to tell you this, but carbon dioxide, if it wasn't for plants breathing that in, plants would die if there wasn't any carbon dioxide. And we would die because there wasn't any oxygen created from the plants eating the carbon dioxide. There was a symbiotic relationship between humans, animals, and plants. And people are so dumbed down with the new textbooks of science that, I mean, there was a guy that was doing research on textbooks, and this is like 10 years ago, and he was saying, my God, I went to my 8th grader's textbook on science, and it says you can't see the moon during the daytime. Can you imagine that? Have you heard that? Do you believe that? I just want you to go out in the morning or the early evening before the sun sets and see the moon up in the sky and look up there at it and go, wow, that doesn't exist because the science text says it don't exist in daytime. You can see the moon almost any time during the day. It's not invisible. I mean, at any time during the time it's close to the sun during the daytime. You can see Venus during the day. If you got a sharp eye, you can see it. With a telescope, you can definitely see Venus in the sky in the daytime. I've heard people seeing Jupiter in the sky in the daytime. So, our fellow amateur astronomers, I haven't looked for Jupiter in the daytime, but I have seen Venus in the daytime. I have seen the moon in the daytime. Don't let them fool you. They're lying to you. They're trying to de-educate us, make us dumb. All they want you to do, as George Carlin said, is be smart enough to run the machinery, do the paperwork, and satisfy their production. That's all they want you to do, and you be happy with it. That's all they want. Is that what you want? You want to be that dumb? You just want to be a robot with flesh on your skin? Like in THX 1138? Where everybody was just a servant and producer and made things just like assembly line and had no other thoughts and had actual android robots as their police beating on them when they didn't suffice. And when he finally got up to the surface, he saw that the elite were living up on top and he was living down in the bottom as a slave in the underground. Man, you gotta see some of these movies. The elitists script these things. They like making movies of things they come up with and ideals, just to see what they'd look like when Hollywood's done with them. So look at a lot of the movies and you'll start seeing this. Imagine The Knowing. It was a good movie. Came out before the oil rig out there on Deep Horizon sunk and spewed oil and everything. The very first thing you see in the movie The Knowing is an oil rig out in the Gulf of Mexico is leaking oil and is on fire. I wonder where they got that script from. I wonder why. Well, I knew now, since I've done my research, since January, the government knew, BP knew, Transatlantic knew, Halliburton's knew, that this oil well was going to fail. They start taking stocks out. The CEO of BP took a third of his stocks out, just like that, 2 weeks before. Transatlantic start doing some strange things, along with, well, let's see, Halliburton bought up Coots and Hoots, which is an oil cleanup thing before it happened. So they make money cleaning all this up. See where the follow the money. Q bono. You gotta follow the money. When you start following the money, you start seeing who the criminals really are in this world. It's the banksters, the oil companies, and the industrial complex that's behind all this. And they're working on destroying everything that you know of. They're gonna make it if we let them get away with it. My ideal is to bring them under criminal prosecution, especially the banksters, for stealing what? Oh, so far it's over $30 trillion from the U.S., giving it to their buddies overseas and offshore. That's criminal. That's called extortion. And we can bring them up on charges of that. We can bring them up on extortion. There's other things we can bring them up on as far as financial fraud. Because when Bernanke was asked in Congress, where'd the $2 trillion go? He goes, I can't tell you. Just like that. Like it was, I'm just not going to tell you. Does that sound like somebody that's legit? That's not trying to fraud you? Steal from you? I mean, it's like having a thief come in and saying, I got to come in your house and take everything you own because I was told I was allowed to. And you'll sit there and go, what? And you'll probably pull out a gun and hold him under arrest until the police get there, or you'll take your own action on him. Which the latter would probably be what most people would do. They would just put them down. They're on their property. They broke in. They're stealing from them. They're criminals. The banksters need to be brought into trial. Greece, you need to get your money back. Just deny them. Say, no. We are going to start backing everything. We're going to make our money back by olive oil. I've heard you're starting to hold stocks on olive oil. You should keep up that. You should actually back your money in olive oil. Like we should back our money in wheat, copper, whatever commodity we can, and get rid of the Federal Reserve out of our system. They got to go. The Federal Reserve must go. We'll have to get rid of them. I mean, they are robbing us. We should have a money that has a backing, not just a promissory note. I start with that and I'm back to it again because that's exactly it. We need to have a commodity behind our money. And Greece, do not give up your islands. If you give up your islands, you're stupid. For paper they gave you that has no value at all. Does it say on that piece of paper, anywhere on the piece of paper, that this is worth anything? Here, let me do something here. I'm going to pull out a dollar bill. I'm going to show you something on this. This is a dollar bill. Where on the hell does it say on that dollar bill it's worth anything? There is nothing. I mean, even where it says this is worth something, it's not. It's a promissory note. This is a promissory note. It's not real. This is just monopoly money. On the back, it says $1, United States of America. No, it's United States of Federal Reserve, because that's what it says up here at the top of the money. Federal Reserve note. This is not American money. It used to say United States on the top, not underneath. And what it says on the little label here, And I'll have to get a magnifying glass for that, if I can find it. Well, it says, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. A promissory note. They're promising this is worth something. You see it? It says it's a promissory note. This is worth nothing. It's monopoly. You might as well be playing Monopoly with your money in your wallet, because that's what it's worth. Nothing. We just believe it is because we're told to believe it is. Unless there's a commodity backing it up, just like when they used to have old money and you had a stick with notches in it, that stick could still be taken into a village that accepted that stick and get that commodity that stick represented it. Not anymore. This here is being devalued. They're printing up more money than they can possibly cover. So the more money's out there, the less it's worth. Like I said, 2 cents. 2 cents to build $1. 2 cents to build a $100 bill from them. But they charge face value and interest on that dollar, on that $100. And then they got this banking system fraud where you put $1,000 in the bank, they can lend out 900 of it, of your money that you got in your savings account. It suddenly belongs to someone else because they can lend that much out and charge interest on it. And so it becomes worthless over a period of time of doing this over and over and over again. People don't see it. They don't understand what the commodities really are. Commodity is, I have a cow, you have a carriage. I'll give you a cow for the carriage, and we're even. That's commodity. You get use out of the cow, either by butchering it or milking it. I get use out of the carriage because I have a horse already, and I'll hook the horse up to that carriage and be able to pull it and carry stuff. That's true money. That's real commodity. I'm right lost right now for a word for it, but this is what you're under. Banks are such crooks. They are such crooks, and we believe them. All we have to do is disbelieve them and get the militaries of the world to disbelieve them, and it's all over. Once the military turns against the bankers, they have no power. We have castrated them of their power, and they have no more power. As long as we allow them to control the militaries and everything, because they get paid by these banksters through our governments, then they're going to worship them and follow after the banksters. I'm going to read this to you, though. I thought this was an interesting little piece of work here that was done by a man named Don Harkins. I bet you know him. A lot of people know Don Harkins of the Idaho Observer. He wrote this back in December 2001. And he calls it the 8 Veils. And I understand the 8 Veils, because I am at the 8th veil, looking down at the rest of them and see how the elitists use this. See, I'm not bought and paid for. They are. They know how to use this for their own sorcery and magic. Oh, don't get me into pharmaceuticals. Sorcery. If you want to really know to let a sorcerer live, just look at the pharmaceutical company.